Thanks to everyone who has joined us live for this virtual studio visit with Ashfika Rahman, and hello to everyone watching us as a recording in the future. I'm Diana Campbell. I'm the Artistic Director of the Summit Foundation and the Chief Curator of the Dhaka Art Summit. And this is a second part of a series of programs that we've launched, which are studio visits where we support artists in Bangladesh, emerging artists working with socially engaged practice to share their work and inspiration with people, with professionals around the world. So at this time where we can't travel, we're trying to bring things that inspire us from Bangladesh to you, and also try to circulate inspiration, research, creativity, and also care across communities around the world, and also communities in need in Bangladesh in partnership with the Jago Foundation. So it's interesting that Ashfika gives voices and other perspectives to people that wouldn't have a voice. I'm really rambling, but Ruxmini, maybe you can talk a bit about the Sundani Art Award process and how your experience working with Ashfika.
Thank you, Dana. I'm Ruxmini Chaudhary. I have been working with the Samdani Art Award for last 3 editions. Through open call, we select Samdani Art Award artists, and I work both with the curator and the shortlisted artist for their presentation at the Dhaka Summit. And I know Ashfika Rahman from 2018 when she first got selected, and I was really fascinated by her work, although her work was based mostly photography based, but when I worked with her in 2018 was mostly photographs, but it was really interesting. I was following her after that, and I could see her changing from photograph to other mediums, which was very interesting. And for the 2020, it completely changed, which I think we who actually know her, we didn't actually expect it to see such work from her, because she studied photography, and she was much more involved in that. But we were really amazed, and it was a wonderful work. And the thing that I really love about her is how she works. Her works speak of people who don't have any voice, and also how socially engaged her work is. So I think I should not really speak much about her. I think she should take over and talk about her experience and also her artworks and the journey she made for all these years. So Ashfika Rahman, I'm handing that to you.
Thank you, Rushmani. Thank you so much for a wonderful introduction. I think it's been more than 4 years that I have been working with Samdani Art Foundation and Rushmani also. Now it feels more like a family. So yeah, I mean, she knows me better now already. So I mean, I'm Ashfika Rahman. You already know that I'm a visual artist, and yes, of course, like Rushmani actually explained, my practice is started from photography. And it's been like when I started photography when I was really kid. I was like maybe 12 or 13. One of my cousin who was a professional photographer, and I used to assist him back then. So, but that time it was really different. That time it was more about pictorial photography. I mean, we were trying to show something beautiful that we see, like something visually we see that we actually try to show to the world, something beautiful. And then after my graduation, when I graduated in finance and banking, which is kind of interesting that I actually started finance and banking, and I have been working in a bank, a financial investment banking. And then once I actually started Pathshala. Pathshala is a photography school. I mean, it's one of the pioneer photography school in Southeast Asia. It's a very small school. I come across in school, and I actually randomly started that school, and that actually shaped me in very much way. Maybe I can share you a school of mine, and I can explain it so you understand me more. Yeah, right. Hmm. Okay, all right. That's my school, Parshala. So this is a very small, tiny, cozy, but very intimate school. This school is founded by very celebrated, internationally celebrated photographer, Dr. Shoidul Alam. Well, though it's a very small, tiny school, but it has a very specific ideology. It has a very specific, I would say, aesthetics of showing society and reflect society to the world with a very different perspective. Like they were trying to show or a very different Bangladesh through lens to the other part of the world. Also, they were trying to express their voice from the society to the other part of the world. So, in a way, they are trying to utilize the power of lens and power of visual at its most to the world, and they're trying to make a very different visuals of Bangladesh. So that actually influenced me a lot and they shaped me a lot in photography, and I was really curious and interested to actually know more about photography, and I have done my diploma over there in photography. And after that, at my final year, I have to do my personal project. And personal project, something very personal to me, something that reflect my thoughts, my aesthetics, something that I want to trail, something I imagine, or things like that. And I was so confused, like what am I? I was trying to actually reflect myself. Who am I? What is my voice? What is my imagination? What is my thought that I want to express through my through the skill or through the craft that I know and I learned. And then I went through my own self life. That's my mom. uh, I I have lost my father and my brother when I was one. So it was more like me, my mom, and my sister. It was like my mom's single mother. She grown up me and my sister, and she's really a strong woman, and she's a social worker. So she used to work for community, and she used to work for violence against women and children, sometimes against trafficking and so on. So I grown up in that atmosphere. So I was thinking like this is something that I know, this is something I'm conscious about, this is something that actually makes me feel to talk about it. And this is some people I grown up with, the community. And I used to travel with my mom because my mom has to be in places like where my mom is working for 15 days, 10 days for a month, or sometimes more than that. I used to stay with my mom, sit beside my mom, and this is something I learned from my mom, and there's some consciousness that actually built in me. So I was thinking, okay, all right, this is something I wanted to talk. This is someone me. This is something that experience that actually shaped my thought and my reflect myself. So I was thinking, okay, all right, what to start? And I remember one incident that one day my mom actually being a rape survivor to stay with me and my sister. She was really a kid back then. We were kid as well. So when she came to our place, and we were so excited to see her, because for us it was like not less than seeing a character from television, like Tom and Jerry or Spider-Man and someone like this, because we had this rape victim and rape survivor things like this in television and newspapers, and somehow it was in our mind that it will be something like that. And but interestingly, she was behaving very differently. She was behaving like us. She was playing like us and behaving like us. Things like that. Me and my sister were so disappointed back then. And when I grown up, and after Patshala, when I was thinking about my project, it was really haunting me that why I was expecting to see someone really vulnerable, why I was expecting to see someone who cannot really be normal like us. And then I realized, like, being a photographer or visual artist or whoever we are also responsible to actually creating this kind of expectation, visual expectation, that we are expecting one, that the vulnerability from the victims or survivor, because we show them in this way and we are creating that expectation. So I was thinking like, okay, this is something that I want to challenge, this is something I want to talk about, that to challenge that why we are actually creating this face of victims, why we are not actually showing the exact person it is, why we're not showing the small kid who is actually normal like me and who is stronger than me, who can actually become more stronger than me. So I started digging in, this is a place, this is actually a very complex border of Bangladesh, Myanmar and India. This is a hilly area. This is highly, I mean, since it's a very complicated border, it's a really highly militarized area. This place is complicated because there are conflict between settler Bangladeshi and actually indigenous community going on for so on and so on. And my mom used to work there, so I know this place, these people. I went there back again, and I was researching on like what's going on there about that rape and things like that. And I came to know this is not really a random incident. There are so many things related to that, so many political and other aspects of that rape. Actually, that rape not being a individual incident anymore. It's more political. It's being used as a rape weapon. So I started digging in and I started my project. This is one protest from indigenous community when they were protesting against a rape happened on an indigenous girl, and which is not really a random incident. This is a lot. So, I mean, after 1 year of researching there, going there, so on and so on, being with them, and then I have my first photographs. Here it is. So here, what I was trying to do, like, I studied uh, Indian classical dance, and I have done my diploma in Indian classical dance. So when I studied Indian classical dance, there is always rhythm and some steps and things like that. And you also always have to remember, and you always have to have the synchronization between rhythms and steps and things like this, like eye movement and so on, like your hand movement, eye movement, and everything. That shaped me, my thought process in a way. Like when I'm working on some issues, I have to have a synchronization between the context and the context and the process I'm working on. Like if I'm working on issues, my materials and things, everything have to have this synchronization in between. So I have used albumin print, um, gold coated on it, because this is the printing process that actually being used right after coat painting. So right after coat painting, royal people used to think about like how can we actually make this printing more valuable, that not everyone can actually have it, not everyone can afford it, make it more royal. So they were actually using liquid gold chloride coated on it to make it more valuable and things like this. So this is a printing process that has been used only for particular class of people. So here always we are actually making this mainstream even by printing process. This oval shape, this oval shape also being used for royal portrait, we also know that. So I was trying to actually challenge that mainstream perspective. We visual artists, we are already created. We have created consciously, unconsciously, to have this classification in all this painting and format and things like that. I mean, I have one very old photographs, like how albumin print have been used for royal portraits, and the design you can see around to make it more glorious. So here it is. Like while I was researching there, I came to know that we are the nation who fought for our mother language, and we are the same nation who are not allowing these indigenous people to study in their own language. They have their own language. Like each individual community, they have more than 15 own language, but they are not allowed to study in their own. When we are not allowing them to study in their own language, how will they communicate? How will they be with us? How will they be part of us, or how will we actually communicate them? So that was really shocking for me. So I have used their text, their own text in their own portrait around. So this is a Chakma language. This language actually a prayer. This is a prayer to be protected from monster or natural disaster or anything that could happen to them. So this is like a safety circle. So I replaced the design with that prayer by all this indigenous community in their own language. So, and yes, here, I mean, when I was working on this, I was thinking like this is also my responsibility to actually protect their identity in a way. I mean, maybe she is only 3, she cannot actually complain now, and she don't understand what is going to be in next, what is going to be with these photographs or with this art piece next. But for me, being a photographer or being an artist, this is my responsibility to actually hide their identity. So I was thinking to use something very significant and very identical and also very own to them. So I have used that motif from their own belonging and cloth. With most of the time, it's handmade. Like they made their own clothes by their own. So this design pattern and everything is very identical and very own. So I have used this pattern from that own cloth. And here again, this pattern and this form is very identical to indigenous community. That also actually for me, it's a metaphoric of that complex situation and complex political condition of there. So through this pattern and things, I was trying to show their identity. At the same time, I was trying to show that complex through the pattern. Also, this is my concern was to actually have this eye contact. Like it seems like they're looking at me and they're asking me like, are we really watching them? Are we really seeing them? Is it not uncomfortable to actually confront them in a way? I wanted to see that uncomfortness inside me, inside my viewers, or maybe. So through my painting process, through my formats, through the way they are sitting and the way they are looking at me, I was trying to challenge our mainstream perspective that we have been creating, we have been holding in our mind for so long. So, I mean, here is the installation view from the exhibition that I have done last year with Jamil International Exhibition in collaboration with Al-Qazi Foundation. So it was curated by Rahab, a very good friend. And I really liked that. That's how actually I presented the work. So my purpose was to actually have the voice that is not allowed to actually express through mainstream media. And I'm always in this thought that maybe art can give me that veil where I can actually express something, some fact that need to be told, but mainstream perspective or mainstream media censorship actually not allowing them. So
Yeah, and Ashfika, maybe we should give a little bit of context here, in the sense that these survivors of rape, often their testimony is not accepted, right? And someone else is writing that testimony for them, right? So maybe you can talk a bit about that. And I think that level of allowing them or using their voice to tell their own story, I think is a very powerful aspect of this work.
yeah, that's also true. I mean, while I was researching them, that was so interesting that one day I went to the hospital and I came to know that the hospital as a doctor has actually instructed to give them a negative report whenever a rape victim comes. And I was asking him like, why you're doing this? Even the doctor was a part of a indigenous community. He was a Chakma guy. So I said like, you also belong to the community. Why you're doing so? And he said like, okay, all right, this is if I will not do that, someone else will do that, and who will take the responsibility if something happened after some protest or something happened after that. So it was in this way, like they are not really allowed to actually have their own voice and all things like this.
And I think also the title, like rape is political, like, and this is something we discussed, like in this case, rape is not about sex. It's actually about controlling people and creating that sense of fear, even that fear that the doctor from the own community can't talk about it.
Exactly like this. I mean, that was the purpose of my title, like why I actually put the title rape is political, because when I went there, it was in my mind it was only rape, and then when I dig it into more and more, and then I came to know it's not really that random incident. Is being used to suppress that people over there. And I think it's not only in Bangladesh, it's not only in Southeast Asia, I think it's all around the world. Whenever we're talking about minority and whenever we're talking about indigenous community, it's always there. Like this rape and things like this have been used to suppress them everywhere in the world. So for me, this work is like to document that dark story, and at the same time actually be the voice for them, like when I mean, this is China, so I mean, also I have an exhibition with Diana in Dubai, so I have exhibited this work in Samdani Art Foundation. So I am actually being that voice for them to actually fact bring the fact to the places where they cannot actually be. And now we are talking about this because this art actually give me this space to actually talk about it with you also, with you people also. So again, after that work, this work, I was selected for masterclass, Jobsot masterclass, and I was supposed to work on youth in Bangladesh. And I was thinking like what I'm gonna work on, and something that actually really haunt me, something that actually relate to me. And I mean, whenever I'm traveling somewhere, I mean, especially in North Bengal, there is a small boy who is a college going boy, who doesn't do something much, but very interested in photography. He always followed me, a very shy kid. So I called him and then no one responded. And I called other people and they said, okay, all right, oh, this guy, that guy already shut down by state security forces. And I was shocked. I mean, why? And then he said, okay, all right, he was involved in some drugs and things like this and crimes like this. So actually he was on an encounter and he was shot down by state security forces. And that actually shocked me a lot. And it was always hard to understand, and it was always hard to believe his connection with any sorts of crime, as I already know him, a very shy, small guy. And then I started my next project, Files of Disappear. After that incident, I started digging more into it, and I came to know that he's not the one. There are a lot of people who went through this forced disappearance by state security forces, and also people around me, my cousin, and some other people. There are a lot of people who went through this experience, and I mean, according to report, it was more than 4,000 last year, like who was randomly picked up by state security forces and tortured at some point, and some came back and some never did. And but people who came back, they are never allowed to speak about it. That's the crucial part. But the point is, like, I was always, I mean, curious. I mean, of course, I heard it from newspaper and things like this, but when it comes to me, it was more relevant to me, and I was really thinking, like, why is happening in this way? And then I realized a very fine line. It's a fear politics, like fear in mind. Like, this is maybe it's not only in my state, maybe it's everywhere in the world. Like, this fear politics works everywhere. So somehow this state mechanism are trying to create some kind of fear inside your mind, so that they can suppress you and they can control you in a way. And I was thinking, like, how can we actually encounter fear, and how can my art project or how can my photography project actually encounter and help them to actually encounter this fear politics around us by state? How can we do that through art? How can, where my art actually have this position, or what will be my role, or my artist and artistic practice will position their role? And then I started thinking it other way around. Like, people who went through this experience, they are going through trauma, and they are actually having this fear in mind, and this fear is actually spreading towards other people who even haven't had this experience. Still, I'm also being afraid of this incident. So this is actually spreading through people. So I thought, okay, all right, maybe I can help it through my work. So I went through some research, and I actually collaborated with some of my psycho counselor friends. So then they helped me out to actually have some kind of meditation and some kind of test, so which depression level they are in. And this depression is really crucial. These people never can get back to normal life. Sometimes they initiate to join militant groups and extremist groups. Sometimes they have this suicidal tendency. So it's anyway how to every perspective. So this psycho counselor friends of mine, group of friends of mine, they helped me to actually have some kind of meditation and some kind of counseling. So then these people started talking about their feeling, their process, and their anxiety and depression inside they're having. And then they started explaining. Our point was to actually connect people who had same kind of experience, and all together they can actually come back stronger, and that's how they can actually encounter the fear they have, and that's how they can really encounter the fear politics, by becoming stronger than before. So they started talking about their process, and I asked them to actually sit with somewhere they feel really comfortable, and they are ready to be photographed, they are ready to share their experience to other people. And so then they can become the, not became the example of people who are afraid, but became the people who are brave enough to come again back strong. So then I took photographs of them when they are ready to be photographs, ready to share their stories. And our psycho counselor friend and things, like, the healing process was that they have to write their own anxiety, own depression, and own experience somewhere in their own photographs. So this was the text that they actually wrote. This was part of their healing process, part of their counseling, and part of their therapy. So through this, it was like some I can read some of the text. Like it was like, I want to forget that incident. It's still a bad dream to me. I often feel bad headache. I wish that they never come to my mind. I wanted to become an architect engineer. It was my holiday. I came here and I never got chance to get back after that incident, something like that. So they started writing their experience and things like that. They have inside for long. And also this, when I was working on this, when I was obviously I have this responsibility to hide their identity. So I was thinking, what will be the best way to actually hide their identity? So I made this golden case where we actually where it questioned the freedom of expression when we don't have the right to express our own feelings and own experience and thoughts and everything. So it is more symbolic, like the ill silent in prison that these people went through. So for me, this whole project was like a healing process, and also an encounter to that the fear politics that state is trying to actually impose on us. So this is one guy who was in Dubai for long 10 years, and when he got back the next day, he was arrested by police, and he had no idea why. He is sitting with his mom. So through these photographs, like from 1 to 1 2 3 4 5, and then it became a number. It's for me, it's like a initiative to create that movement to actually encounter that fear that we are encountering. And this is some place, I have some landscape where this is a landscape from some places, though it looks beautiful, but it's actually a place where we found the dead body over the year, I mean after the so-called encounter. So normally this encounter happened at midnight between police and so-called criminals, and at early morning we found the dead body. So I took photographs in early morning when we actually found dead bodies. And this is another place, a landscape where we found dead body. After this landscape actually questioned that portrait as well. What is the reality behind this? So after this work, I mean, this is an installation view of that work that I have exhibited in Chobi Mela back in 2019. It was curated by Jihan Karim, who is a very favorite artist and curator of mine from Bangladesh. So we were trying to have this distorted pattern and distorted things that gives us that ill and distorted feeling. And also this landscape over there was reflecting that portrait. And after this project, I mean, even during that exhibition, I found out that I'm having blood cancer, and I was shocked, shattered, obviously, no wonder. And I was going through chemotherapy for long, so 6 months I was in hospital, and that was a time when I got really time to think about so many things, spirituality, beliefs, and death and life and things like that, which is normal, I think. It's, I mean, people who ever going through these types of disease, they are always in this type of thought, like death and things like this. And then I was very lucky that during my chemotherapy, and I was selected for Samdani Art Award again. And interestingly, when my interview was happening, video interview was happening, I was actually in hospital, and my video interview was happening in hospital. I was having chemotherapy, exactly. I remember my curator was asking me like, what is behind you, all these cables and things like this. I said, ignore this. So it was like that. And I came back and I was thinking like, okay, all right, I will do something like that. I think there is no boundary in art. Like what we are thinking, I mean, this 6 months gave me so many thoughts inside me. Like we people, we have a very short time in life. I mean, we should explore everything possible. We shouldn't really give any boundary to ourselves. We should open ourselves. We should enjoy ourselves, whatever we want to do, whatever, however we want to spend our this short time. So that gives me a thought that maybe we should actually ignore all these boundaries. So I mean, back to Lakshmani's work, like how I shifted my practice towards photography to other mediums. That was the reason, like when I was going through chemotherapy and I actually thought about it, like we are actually having so many boundaries and struggles and obstacles. We creating this, we are blocking ourselves, and let's enjoy the life we have. So I mean, at 2016, I think I went to a indigenous village. It was an incident happened between indigenous and Bangladesh and something like this. I was there for an assignment, and I was so interested to see a mud house, a small tiny room that called church. And I was wondering, like, the Christian church in a very remote indigenous village, and back then they said, like, okay, all right, there are a number of converted Christian lives here. So it was 2016, and when I came back from my chemotherapy, and I was thinking, like, okay, all right, this is something I'm feeling to do now. So I was supposed to do something for Samdani Art Foundation Art Award, and I went back to a indigenous village, and this is the entrance of the indigenous village. I look at the gate and the color and things like that. That amazed me a lot. And this is, I mean, at the right side, this is a gate of a church, and that text actually take my nerves. That was, enjoy Christmas, love the poor and the needy people. That actually explains the whole concept of conversion. It's more relevant to the poverty than the spiritual connection. That, I mean, for spirituality, for the religious beliefs, that for them is more relevant to their economical condition. So, I mean, I have started thinking about it, like what is happening there. And I came to know that the story of church in Bangladesh is not now, it's from maybe mid 16. So after after 1943's decision, there was a great crisis. That time Christian mission was helping a lot to indigenous communities, especially Sautal and Orao and other communities. So back then, that help from the Christian mission and things like this, that actually moved that indigenous community to actually accept Christianism in a way. Even that was extreme after 1971 liberation war. Right after liberation war, there was a crisis again, and that actually was the high time when indigenous community and people were accepting Christianism. They have their own reason, and I think there is a good number of reasons which can help explain why they were actually accepting its education. It's also separation from the upper class Hindus and things like that. So, I mean, I was started thinking like this, okay, all right, this actually a whole thing, that conversion and things like this, it's not really that spiritually connected, but it's actually shifting our whole geographical system and whole geographical map. And she is the one this I met first in the village. She is Shupra Tatai I met. She is one of the first lady who actually accepted Christianism from that Orao village where I have been working. And when one day I was roaming around with a Orao boy, and he was showing me, like, you know what, this village, this house was Hindu's house before, now it's Christian house. There was a Muslim house before, and then now it's they moved to somewhere else. It's a Hindu house now. And I was listening to him, and I was thinking, like, how he was explaining me the geographical position of a specific believer and how it shifted from time to time. And then I collected this map right after 1971. This is a map from that village. So I was asking this boy, like, can you navigate me, like, which was the Christian house, which was the Hindu house back then, and now it's moved to some other religious believers and things like this. And he was helping me navigate how it shifted from one to another. And that reminds me the other story, other scenario of Southeast Asia, like back in when it was like 1947, when we have this partition between Hindustan and Pakistan. It was, this partition was based on the religious beliefs. The geographical map was actually based in religious belief. Like in Pakistan, East Pakistan and West Pakistan was, even though it's far away, still it was one country because they are Muslim believers, and this Hindus, even though it's middle, but it's still they believe in Hinduism. So it was the Hindu state. Also, I mean, partition of two Bengal, West Bengal and East Bengal. Even though we have same culture, even though we have same language, everything is same, but still because of this religious beliefs and things like this that made a geographical border between space. So that was also, I mean, taking my nerves. And I think it's not only in Southeast Asia, and it's not only in Bangladesh, East Bengal and West Bengal, it's everywhere in the world. We have this religious geographical border. Even it's visible or invisible, it's everywhere. So I was thinking to actually navigate that map, and I was thinking to actually take this village as a metaphor of the world invisible map based on religious beliefs. So I was thinking about the material. Like I said, like I need to have this synchronization between rhythms and steps and everything. So I was thinking finding that rhythm and steps that can actually synchronize with context and the content and the process. So I saw this old lady, very cute and pretty old lady. She was trying to make something. She was making a very local map. At right side you can see, and that amazed me a lot. I was quite surprised by the process she was making it, because it's like all the leaf you have to connect with each other. It's like you have to connect with each other no matter what it is, no matter who it is, but that's how it works. It has to be together. That's how it will build something, and it will make the object that she is trying to make. So I was thinking like this is the perfect example of how we all have to be together. That's how the whole ecological system, that's how the whole world will work. No matter what religious belief we are, no matter if we believe Christianism or Hinduism or Muslimism or um, Sikh or no matter what economical class I belong to, poor or rich or whatever it is, but we have to be together, we have to act together. That's how the whole world will act. So I was thinking this is the perfect example, this is the perfect material that I should use to actually have this map that I'm trying to create. And this is a global map. So I have used this mat material, and then we started navigate the map through colors. Like I showed it on the entrance gate that they have significant color that they actually used, that is very much relevant to their culture and their spiritual connection as well. I mean, for example, they have some kind of like red for red world, and white for air, and yellow for the sun, green for the planet and things like that. So they have some kind of spiritual connection with color, and I was trying to actually replace the color with individual religious practitioner. For example, white is for Christianism, and maybe yellow for Muslims, and red and purple for different customs of Hindus and things like this. I was trying to navigate the map of religious believer through color, and here we go. Here we have our landscape finally. So I mean, this is the landscape that actually shows the small village, but at the same time, I think this is actually replacing the invisible map of world, how it works together, how it's all one. So again, while I was actually selecting this, I mean, how we are gonna show this, and I mean, color we already know the influence from spiritual connection and things like their cultural connection and things like this. And while I was thinking about stitching, I was so much moved by their tattoo, that indigenous. I saw this hand of a lady, and they have this tattoo from history. And then, I mean, history says that the tattoo was supposed to mummify the skin, supposed to actually express the identity of a skin, identity of a people, and the texture of the tattoo is very significant, and the way they do it is very significant. This is not the conventional way how we do tattoo. They have the needle and they do it by needle. So I was thinking, I was very much moved, and I was thinking, okay, all right, this is exactly what I want. I wanted to actually give the identification of each religious believer. At the same time, I want it to be one, have this synchronization in between. So I was so influenced by this texture of the tattoo from indigenous tattoos, and the way they do it by needle. So here it is, the stitch and everything is highly influenced by that tattoo, texture of tattoo. And this is, each is, I mean, each pins actually together makes a wider scene of the landscape. So yeah, again, This is the installation of the map that we have from the village, the global map, which represent everything but nothing maybe. And yeah, through the map I wanted to show that how we all need to act together, how we need to be together, even though we are converting from one to another, and even coexistence and tolerance that we need to have. So that was the installation view from Dhaka Art Summit 2020, and it was curated by Philip, a very nice person, very good person. And I mean, whenever I'm working on any topic or any issue or any community, I always try to have this in my mind, like how I'm gonna help them, how I'm gonna get back to them, and like where my art is being placed in their community. So I mean, while when I was selling each of my work, I was trying to get back to the people I have worked with, and sometimes I try to actually give them back from their own work. I mean, I think
So basically, financially, you make a financial contribution to the communities that are also inspiring work that gives you financial possibility when you sell them, correct?
that's true. Like when collector, actually, I mean, I'm selling it to collector, and I'm giving it to collector. I get the money, and I give it. I mean, for example, this work I sold it to a very renowned collector from Peru, a very good friend. But when I actually have the money, I give back. I get back to the people, and I give their tax from land. I give land tax or not, or 50% of the money I'm paying back to the community. So I mean, for me, I think this is something I already have got all these colors and the skills and everything I got from them. So I'm trying to be in the middle of the collector, between collector and the community, and I place myself in between, and I'm trying to connect them somehow. And that's how I think that's how this whole ecological system of art and community and collector things should work. I think now it's time to think about it. This is what I believe. Like I need
I
to.
couldn't agree with you more. But also this thought about like staying with communities long term. It's not like you just go in there, do a project and leave and they don't see you again. Can you maybe talk a bit about continuity? Like, because across all of these projects, you remain in touch with these people.
Yeah, that's very true. Like for my first project, I explained that I stayed there for a long 1 year to have one photograph. I mean, I have to know these people. And even for this work, I am thinking to actually have a series of landscape, not only in Bangladesh, but I mean, while I was doing this work, I was highly influenced by the work by Amir Khan. Last year, I was in Nepal, Photo Kathmandu, and I was lucky enough to experience his installation. It was about
Yeah.
rape
The lightning testimonies.
lighting testimonies. Yeah, our favorite one. So that work was about the rape violence against indigenous community, minor communities, and people like this, and how this all this violence being used as a war weapon, not only in Bangladesh or not only in India, but also in Southeast Asia. That violence actually connect with each the country in one. So I was highly influenced by that. That this is all this incident is not. I mean, we are not alone, and we are not individual. We are not anywhere isolated. It's everywhere, and we all together actually. Anywhere we are connected to each other. So when I was working on this project, I was highly influenced by that, because where I mean, research said that even in Dalit community in India, they are facing the same problem. Even in Nepal and Sri Lanka and some other places like around Southeast Asia, and I think even in Australia and some places, some indigenous community in Europe and US having same kind of problem. So it is connected. It's not something that really individual. So I was thinking to having a series of landscape. One I have from Bangladesh, and one the next landscape I'm gonna do in India with Dalit community, and next I'm gonna do it in Nepal. And of course, if things go well after lockdown. So this is not something that I'm gonna go do this and then leave it. This is something I'm gonna continue. Anyway, this is something I'm going to continue. And also, I mean, I'm planning to actually contribute that community again through financially and however it's possible. For rape is political, it's not financial. It's like I'm being voiced for them. I'm actually bringing the truth to the people. They need to know, and they need to mean, something that they have to express, they need to express, but this censorship on mainstream media, they cannot express that truth to people. There, I'm being the medium for them. Even for my project, Files of Disappearance, I'm being the one who can actually help them. I mean, my project, my art, be positioning where they need help to actually confront that fear politics. How can they connect with each other and share the anxiety, fear, and depression with each other? That's how they can become brave enough, and they can become powerful enough, and they can become strong enough. There, I'm positioning my self, my art, being support for them to start that movement. And here is different. Here I'm trying to actually show something, at the same time I'm trying to give something back in a way. This religious conversion is highly influenced by financial and economical problems. So here is different. So in each of my project, I'm always thinking like how my art project or how a photography project or whatever I'm working on can become more than a project only, can become, I mean, get out of the gallery only. So I think I will position myself in there, like out of gallery also. And yeah, I think we are almost okay. All right, we have 8 minutes left, and yes, I mean, it's been more than 5, 6, or 7, 8 years maybe. It's been more 7, 8 years I have been practicing art. I mean, so this is something I have been thinking nowadays. Like, is it not the time to rethink our role of art in society? I mean, even considering this lockdown and this pandemic, that made me think about it again and again. Like, why do we actually position art in society? Maybe this is time we need to think about society again, and we need to reform our thought again. And also, I think art should be part of an ecological system. We cannot really isolate art from a society. We cannot actually have this boundary of art anywhere. In terms of medium, in terms of thought, in terms of purpose or anything, we need to open it up. We need to maybe rethink about it. Okay, I think we are almost on time. It's 5 minutes left. Maybe we need to have some kind of question and answer. Thank you so much, Diana. Thank you so much, Samdani Art Foundation, to actually have me today. It's always
and thank you.
It's always like home. I mean, whenever I'm talking in a Samdani platform, it's always like home, and I'm really emotional always. Thank you so
much. I think we're always learning from each other. And you might notice my background change. So I learned the lesson I'll give to everyone on Zoom in the summer is that if your phone gets too hot, it'll shut down. So I had to go inside. But Ashfika, I think what's really amazing here is how your work has such local specificity, but you're finding these connections to all of these other contexts, and sometimes to places that you haven't been. And I think that, that's something that's really interesting when you think about the global and the local. But I think also to close this, also you were talking about being a voice for people that are voiceless. I also think institutions and curators can help amplify that. And, you know, what you're trying to say is you take a very brave position. Like, you know, this is not easy stuff. So I think, again, like, you know, I thank all the people that have shown your work and have engaged with it, because these are really important things to talk about and not easy things either.
I think I'm gonna explore myself more and more, and I think still I'm learning, still I'm exploring things every day. Like Rukshmani says, how I'm changing my practice again and again. So I think it's still, we all are in this journey of exploration of oneself.
Yeah, totally. Well, thank you. Thank you for everyone listening. Thank you for everyone watching this in the future, and see you soon.
Thank you everyone for watching me and listening me. Bye. Have a good day. Stay safe.